All right, we're back and ready to do Snowflake C. So let's get into the fun. You're going to take your sandpaper board again, and we're going to mark those pieces that are suggested on the pattern. So we're ready to sew because I've already marked them. So what you're going to do is take your first two pieces, we're going to place them right sides together, and we're going to stitch from the left to the bottom right corner. So the meat will be in the left side. So we're going to stitch all the way down. So let's go to the machine. Just double check that. We want to make sure we've got our center needle position on this one. And we're going to stitch all the way through. Okay. All right. Then we're going to press this to this side. Now the reason why we're doing a lot of this pressing and flipping and then trimming is because we want to make sure that we've got the right angle, because nothing is more frustrating than sewing something, trimming it, and then realizing it was not the accurate side. So what we're going to do is just flip that over again like we've been doing, and we're going to trim any excess that we have hanging off. So again, we don't want a lot, we just want a little haircut. If it is a lot, take a step back, maybe go back and sew that one more time. And so there's less that we're trimming off at that point, because it probably is not square at that point. So open that up, going to trim this back to our 1/4 inch and trim from there. All right, bringing it back to our board, we're going to grab our next piece, which will go on that same corner we just did. Now this is very similar to the last blocks that we did, except we have two pieces that will be the same. These are the same size cuts here and here. So let's go to the machine. We're going to go ahead and stitch corner to corner here. All right. Okay. All right. Going to go ahead and go to the iron, and we're going to press that to that direct side for us. Go ahead and set it with the iron. Use the side of the iron to press that out. And we're going to use the clapper just to place that on there to lock that heat in there. Again, the smaller the size is, the more often we want to make sure we're doing that. Again, flip it to the back side, and we're just going to double check to make sure that that block is still square. And again, it might seem like it's so minimal, but it definitely pays off when you do that. Go ahead and tip this back. We're going to trim a 1/4 inch, set that aside. That little section is done, okay? Now we're gonna go to the next section. So we're gonna grab our next block, make sure I'm sewing this to the right side or the right angle. And if you notice that I had my blocks laid different directions. This one is horizontal here, and this one is vertical. So we're going to make sure that we're laying these out so that we make sure we get the correct angle on the block itself. So here we're sewing from the top corner to the bottom right point of this block here. So when you look at that, we're going from here to here. Okay, now let's go to the machine. All right, and again, just stitching to the side of that line. We're going to go ahead and pull that out. Take that out, and we're going to press this up just like we did the last step. Okay, here, gonna give it a good set. Put the clapper on there for just a second. Lock those seams into place. Then we're gonna place the block face down, and we're gonna look for the excess if there is any hanging off. Now this one is just barely, but it's enough that if we don't trim it off, it will eventually just keep adding to the size of the block. So we really want to make sure that we're trimming that down. Flip it back to the right side, open this up, place your ruler on the inside, and trim that back. That way we're not trimming the actual block. We don't want to do that. So placing your block on the board again, we're going to grab our next little piece, and we're going to go to that opposite, the same side we just sewed to on that piece there. So again, sewing corner to corner, that's the next step. So let's go to the machine. And we're going to stitch Okay, and we're going to press this towards that little corner piece one more time. Okay, set the seam, press it up the side of the iron, and we're going to place the clapper right on top, because again, when we get those small pieces, we want the control to keep them pressed open and up in the direction that we need them. Okay, we're going to take this guy, flip it over, gonna square him up one more time. Looks like I only have to trim off one side on this one, but it's just enough. Flip that over, and we're going to tip that back, and we're going to trim. Okay, so there's our next section, which we're gonna lay this direction. Now we're gonna move into that corner block. So this one, we've done all of these steps the same way, but this one we are gonna have to do one at a time because these are quite large on the blocks, and we need to press and trim before I can sew this other side onto it. So we're gonna start with one of them, just go to the corner, we're gonna sew meat to meat, corner to corner here for you. So let's take it to the machine and get going. All right. So again, just changing just one little step, it's amazing what the snowflake will end up looking like. So again, here we're going to take this and press it up from there. Going to do one press, grab a hold of that, give it a good set, put the clapper on there for just a second, and then we're going to grab the other corner from here. We're going to sew this to here on the opposite side. Okay, let's go to the machine. All right, just stitching off that line again towards the outside of the block. Okay, and then we're going to press this to the opposite corner. This totally reminds me of folding those snowflakes as a kid and making all the fun little things. You just never knew what they were going to look like. So this is your mystery blocks as you put them together, just like those snowflakes as a kid. All right, so here what we're going to do is flip this over, and we're going to look at it from the back side. I can see that I have just a little bit of haircut that needs to happen on this side, and that was very minimal. Rotate it the other side, and we're going to look at the same thing. So we're looking here and here to see if we need anything to come off. And again, we had just a smidge that needed to come off of there. So then what you're going to do is flip that to the right side, open that up, and we're going to trim our block. There's one corner, trimming the other side. Don't forget to open it up. We're going to open that up, trim from here, and then we're going to place that back down. So now we have this section, but we're going to take it a step further this time, and we're going to add two more pieces to these corners here. So we're going to add this one here, and we're going to add this one on the other side. So this one, you should be able to sew this all at one time, or sew it before you go to your ironing station. So sew this one first, and then we're going to sew this one, and then we're going to press. So I'm just going to set this one aside for just a second so I can sew that first side down. Okay, and then we're going to continue to stitch, trim those threads, and then I'm going to grab this corner and go from here. Grab the next one. And we're going to just stitch that all the way down. There we go. All right, we're going to take this out of the machine. We're going to take it to the iron, and we're going to press these out for you. So that's the next step we're on. All right. Can you see that we've added a different element to this block as well? So press both sides. Go ahead and put that clapper down. Hold that down just a little bit just to lock the heat in. And now we're going to take it to the cutting station. We're going to flip it over just like we've been doing. And we're going to look at the back side, see if we need to trim any excess off. I'm just going to give it, again, that little itty bitty haircut. And rotate it and do the other side. That one I can see I've just a little bit on the top. Okay, so flip that back to the right side and we're going to tip this open and we're going to place 1/4 inch and we're going to trim. You are going to master the stitch and flip method with these blocks because it really is, that's all it is, very simple. So here we go, here's our corner for our portion of our block we're putting together. So we're going to take this one, they're going towards the center. We got a little Lone Ranger block over here that we're going to place in the top corner opposite of this one. And we're going to lay our block here and our block here. Again, we want these all to run parallel with each other. So if you end up like this, although it's a cool snowflake, it's not what we're looking for. Unless that's your snowflake, you could do that. But we're going to keep this towards what the pattern is suggesting. So keeping them all parallel, what we're going to do is sew these two together, flip that over, and we're going to sew this one together here, stitching all the way down, and then we're going to press. So let's go to the machine. So here we go. And this, you want to make sure that we turn that to our 1/4 inch seam allowance again, from our center to our 1/4 inch. And then we're going to grab the next piece, just double check that, and all right, cut our threads, and then we're going to clip those apart. Okay, and we're going to press these opposite, so I'm going to press towards this square L, and then we're going to press towards the big center corner. So these are the directions we're pressing it as we go to the machine. So I'm going to flip that over, or to the iron. I'm going to flip those over so they're already in the direction I want to press them towards. So coming from this one, let's start with the big guy first. Press that up. Okay, and then we're going to put the clapper on top. Then we're going to go to this little guy and we're going to press towards him. He usually stays a little easier because there's no seams in this little top corner, so we don't have to keep him there as long with the iron. So again, here's our top section. I'm going to rotate that around to where they're opposite, and we're going to stitch these two together, these two sections. Taking the top section, we're going to flip that over. We're going to nest the seams, tipping this back to make sure that those seams, that seam lines up. Going to the right of the seam, you're going to place the pin and come back to the left of the seam. So now when we stitch, we can stitch past the seam, then pull the pin out and then continue on. That way that seam is not going to move from where we had pinned it. So again, going to the machine, 1/4 inch stitch. So I'm there at my seam, I can take my pin out. All right, I'm going to cut that, and then we're going to press this to, we're going to press it up, so towards the top, okay? And here we go, we've got one more section of our fun snowflakes ready to go. Here we are. Put our clapper on here for just a second. All right, going to move this one out of the way, and you can see that we have our 4 sections made up together. This one, you rotate to where they're all coming to the center is what we're looking for. On this one, I actually already sewed this section, the center strip to this one, and the center section to this one. So we've already done those steps here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, flip that over, and we're going to stitch here. Remember to keep this portion on the feed dog side. So we're going to flip that around to where we're stitching with that up against the feed dogs. 1/4 inch stitch. We're going to stitch that together. Okay. I just love the magic of seeing them all come together. Again, we're going to go to the iron with the center section up because that's where we're pressing towards. And we're going to lift that up and press it to the side, to the center there. Taking your clapper, you can place that there in the center if you'd like for just a minute. Bring that back, and we're going to sew this section to this section. It's almost there. So again, once we've got that laid around, we're going to flip it over to where this is on the bottom. We want that up against our feed dogs. So let's get stitching. All right. Going to match up the end just so I have some control. And here we go. And all right, we're going to take this to the ironing board now. We're going to press this towards the center section. So let's come on over. We're going to make sure that the strip is on the top side because that is the direction we're pressing towards. So go ahead and give it a quick set. And we're just going to lift that up and press it from there. Put your clapper on there, lock that into place. And just like that, we have a finished Snowflake Block C. So let's go ahead and let's move on to D, Snowflake.